Hi, in this lesson we'll go through what you may call time thieves. These are activities that take much more time and attention than what they should. We'll see what they are and how to handle them. First are emails. Emails contain either things you need to know or things you need to do. The problem with emails is that they just sit there. They all seem as if they're at the same urgency, and they all wait for you to make time for them. Another issue with emails is that once an email has been received, you get the false impression as if you should answer it right away, or at least read it. Some people just close their email application for a certain part of the day, and if that's an option for you, I definitely consider doing that. But here are some other techniques to handle emails without disrupting your schedule. The first is the recognition that, as I've already mentioned, emails are very often not urgent. If you're doing something important, you can either ignore your emails or just go through the sender and the header to see if it's something you should look into. If it's not something you should immediately look into, keep doing what's important. The emails are not going anywhere. They will wait for you until you'll find the time. Second, when you are going through your emails, your goal is to get rid of them as quickly as possible. So if it's something you need to know, great. You read it, and now you know it. If you should also make a note of it somewhere, make that note and get it over with. If it's a task that is under your responsibility, decide whether you can assign it to someone on your team or you want to do it yourself. If it's someone else, forward the message and optionally create a reminder in your calendar to make sure it is completed. And that's it. If it's a task you perform, including answering a certain question or talking to someone, you don't necessarily have to perform it at the time you read the email. You may prefer scheduling it for later. Try to not schedule tasks to the last minute, though, because you'll often have something unexpected at the last minute. Emails are often used for things that should be performed, but are not urgent, so treat them accordingly. For more urgent things, people will usually use the phone. Which brings us to phone calls. Phone calls, because of their immediate nature, are a bit more of a challenge when it comes to time management, but here are some techniques you can use to avoid wasting your time when handling them. First, some calls you can schedule and not make right when you decide you should make them. You can schedule a time for doing both, make phone calls and send and read emails. Second, when it comes to calls you receive, you can handle them just as you handle emails. If it's a task someone else can perform, assign it to them or just ask the caller to talk with that developer. Trust your team and they won't let you down, and if you don't trust them enough for that task, just ask the caller to update you whether or not they got what they wanted. Even if you choose not to assign that task to someone else, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it immediately. You can still say, "That sounds very important, but I can't handle it right now. Can I get back to you in an hour?" Again, control your time and only refer to tasks as urgent if they really are. Next, meetings. Let's start with meetings you're a guest in. The first question you should ask yourself when it comes to those meetings is if you can ask someone to go instead of you. The answer will very often be no, but if it's something very specific and you have a developer that has good familiarity with the subject, this might be a way to free some of your time. Other than that, you can ask the organizer what's needed from you before the meeting and maybe just answer their questions without even attending. Even if you have to attend, knowing what's needed from you will help you answer the need well in the meeting, which may save you from future meetings on the same topic. If you're the organizer of the meeting, here are some time-saving tips. First, make the needed preparations beforehand. If you need a projector or if you're planning to present a document, make sure you have it ready before the meeting starts. Second, have a clear agenda. Don't improvise topics as you go. The agenda should be clear to all participants before the meeting, which will allow them to refer to the meeting's topic before the meeting begins. This will save you time. You can also request feedback from participants before the meeting, which will help facilitate its progress. So if you're doing a meeting about some new software you need, you can ask the security person before the meeting if they approve, and if not, why. This will save everybody's time in the meeting itself. Next, make sure the meeting is focused and participants don't discuss other issues. They can do that later. And that's it. Those are the key points that will save you time in meetings with individuals outside of your team. The highlights for a team meeting are quite similar, with the exception that a team meeting has some sort of image of something that must be done. Otherwise, something isn't functioning properly. To refute this opinion, I want to read to you an answer given by a user on software engineering, which is like Stack Overflow, but for more general developers-related topics which are not technical. In any case, they responded to someone who felt that their team meetings were a waste of time, and they were considering canceling them. Here is what they replied. Cancel the damned meetings. They have no point unless they have a point. I have been at too many of these over the last 15 years. I'm pretty sure that if the brain cells injured by these no-agenda team meetings were still functioning, my team and I would have built something that sold for billions of dollars, and I could retire to relative obscurity and pursue my dream of fiddling with some code that only I care about for the next 20 years. So those are somewhat harsh words, and team meetings are sometimes very important, but only if there is something specific you want to achieve from them. If there is some difficulty or a decision that you think the whole team should participate in, if you need to convey some announcements to the team that you think are better delivered face-to-face rather than in emails or chat, then by all means, hold meetings. If not, just skip them. It doesn't mean you have any problem with your team. It's like how developers were once measured by the number of lines of code they produced. It's a metric that's easy to measure, but it doesn't really say anything about efficiency or effectiveness. So think about how you're advancing your team, and just do what's needed. If you decide to hold a team meeting, note that even in these meetings, which are inherently less formal, you should come with a clear agenda to help everyone stay focused. I would also suggest sending it by email. Usually, there will be a developer to whom the topic of the meeting is especially relevant, either because they encountered a problem that made you realize you need to discuss it with everyone, or simply because they are most familiar with the topic. So that developer needs to know that you, or they, are going to talk about the subject. And that's it. Other than that, team meetings can be a very good way to find solutions to complex problems, to achieve coordination among team members, to boost morale and cohesiveness, but can also be a complete waste of time if not managed correctly. So use your judgment. I'll see you in the next lesson.